If you think women are attracted to the perfect words, you've already been misled. Most men spend years memorizing lines, pick-up phrases, and clever jokes, hoping one sentence will magically make a woman interested. But here's the truth almost nobody tells you. Women are not reacting to your words. They are reacting to your energy, your tone, your confidence, your presence. And in the next few minutes, you're going to discover why one simple sentence from a man once gave me butterflies instantly, and how understanding this psychology can completely change the way women respond to you. Watch carefully, because this might transform the way you talk to women forever. Hey, pause for just a second and listen closely, because what I'm about to share with you might quietly change the way you see conversations, attraction, and even yourself. Take a slow breath. Most men believe that when they talk to a woman, everything depends on finding the perfect words, the perfect opening line, the perfect sentence, the perfect joke. They imagine there must be some magical phrase that instantly makes a woman interested, something clever, something impressive, something flawless, and so they spend hours thinking about what to say. They watch videos, they memorize lines, they rehearse conversations in their heads. But here is a truth that surprises many people the first time they hear it. The exact words you use rarely matter as much as you think. What truly changes how a woman feels during a conversation isn't just the sentence you speak. It's the energy behind it, the tone in your voice, the calmness in your body, the quiet confidence in your presence. Women experience conversations in a deeply emotional way. While men often listen for information, women naturally pick up on something far more subtle: feeling, atmosphere, vibe. In other words, the emotional signal you are sending matters far more than the literal message you are delivering. You could say the most ordinary sentence in the world, and if it comes from a place of calm confidence and playful energy, it can feel incredibly attractive. But you could also say the most brilliant line ever written, and if it comes from nervousness, pressure, or desperation, it immediately feels uncomfortable. And the fascinating thing is that most of this happens below conscious awareness. A woman might not be able to explain exactly why she feels drawn to one man and uneasy around another, but her mind is quietly reading hundreds of small signals: your posture, your eye contact, the rhythm of your speech, the subtle expressions on your face, the way you stand, the way you smile, even the tiny pauses between your words. All of these things form a kind of emotional language, and that language often speaks louder than any sentence you could ever memorize. There's also a deeper reason this happens. Throughout human history, words have always been easy to fake. Anyone can memorize impressive phrases. Anyone can pretend to be confident for a few seconds. But your body language, your energy, and your emotional presence are much harder to hide. Those signals reveal the truth about how comfortable you feel in your own skin. So when a woman meets someone new, her brain instinctively scans for those clues, not to judge harshly, but to understand who you really are. Does this person feel relaxed? Does he seem comfortable being himself? Is he enjoying the moment? Does he feel genuine? These are the signals that quietly shape attraction. And this is why two men can say the exact same words and receive completely different reactions. Imagine 10 different men walking up and saying the same sentence. One might sound playful, another might sound stiff, someone else might seem nervous, another might feel warm and natural. Even though the words are identical, the emotional experience of hearing them will feel completely different. Because attraction doesn't come from the script, it comes from the spirit behind the script. Let me tell you a small story that illustrates this beautifully. Some time ago, someone I had been coaching sent me a message after an evening out. He sounded almost shocked by what had happened. He said he noticed a woman across the room who immediately caught his attention. She seemed confident, stylish, and incredibly attractive. Normally, he would have hesitated. Normally, he would have overthought every detail. But this time, he decided to try something different. Instead of worrying about the perfect words, he focused on something simpler. He focused on enjoying the moment. He walked over, introduced himself, and after a few seconds of light conversation, he said something that even he admitted was a little cheesy. With a playful smile, he told her that if he had realized earlier that she was brighter than a falling star, he would have caught her sooner and carried her around in his pocket. Yes, it was a silly line. He knew it. But the important part was not the sentence. It was the way he said it. He said it with a relaxed grin, with lightness in his voice, without trying too hard to impress her. And because he was enjoying himself, she felt that energy immediately. Instead of judging the line, she laughed. Not a polite laugh, a genuine one. The kind that comes when someone's playful spirit is contagious. They kept talking. The conversation flowed easily. Within a short time, she gave him her number. Later that evening, they even grabbed coffee together. When he told me this story, he kept asking the same question. Was it the line that worked? And the honest answer was simple. No, it wasn't the line. The words themselves were completely ordinary. What made the interaction memorable was his attitude, his relaxed energy, his willingness to be playful, and most importantly, the fact that he wasn't desperately trying to impress her. He simply allowed himself to be present, to enjoy the conversation, to express himself without pressure. That small shift created a completely different experience. And this brings us to a powerful idea that many people overlook. Confidence is not about trying to appear impressive. It's about feeling comfortable enough to be genuine. When you feel relaxed, your voice becomes smoother. Your smile becomes natural. Your movements become easy. And people sense that authenticity instantly. It creates a feeling of safety and warmth, which is something every human being is naturally drawn toward. Now let me share another moment that perfectly shows how powerful tone and confidence can be. One afternoon, I was walking through a grocery store, slowly moving down the produce aisle. It was one of those calm, ordinary days. Bright lights, fresh vegetables neatly arranged, soft music playing in the background. Nothing special. I happened to start chatting with someone standing nearby. At first, the conversation was simple, just casual remarks about the fruit selection and the crowded aisles. The man wasn't someone who would immediately stand out in a crowd. He was about average height, average build, normal clothes, but something about him felt quietly appealing. He had a warm smile. He seemed completely relaxed. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was simply comfortable being himself. After a couple minutes of easy conversation, he looked at me with a small, playful smile and said something unexpected. In a calm, confident voice, he said, "You do realize I'm flirting with you, right?" The moment felt light, honest, direct. There was no awkwardness in the way he said it, no apology, no hesitation, just playful clarity. And strangely enough, I felt a tiny rush of excitement. It made me laugh. Not because the sentence itself was extraordinary, but because his tone made it charming. It felt confident. It felt natural. It felt genuine. I told him I appreciated the compliment, but I was already seeing someone. He smiled, completely unfazed. We wished each other a good day and went our separate ways. But I walked away thinking about how well he handled that interaction. The exact same sentence, delivered with nervous energy, might have sounded uncomfortable, but because he spoke with ease and playful confidence, it felt enjoyable instead. And that moment captures an important lesson. Communication is not just about language, it's about presence. Your emotional state travels through your voice, your eyes, and your body language. People feel it, they sense it, and that feeling shapes the entire conversation. So the real question becomes, how do you develop that relaxed presence? How do you stop overthinking every word? How do you become someone who naturally creates enjoyable conversations instead of awkward ones? The answer might surprise you, because it has less to do with learning clever phrases and more to do with reconnecting with a part of yourself that many adults slowly lose. Playfulness. Think about how children behave. They laugh easily. They speak freely. They make jokes that barely make sense. They dance when music plays. They express themselves without constantly worrying about how they look. There is a kind of freedom in the way they interact with the world. But as people grow older, something changes. We become more cautious, more self-aware, more worried about judgment. Slowly, we start filtering every action, every word, every gesture. And that constant self-monitoring creates tension. It makes conversations feel calculated instead of natural. One simple exercise that can help break this pattern is something I sometimes jokingly call playful discomfort. The idea is very simple. For short moments during your day, allow yourself to do harmless, slightly silly things that push you outside your comfort zone. Nothing extreme, just small actions that remind your brain that it's okay to relax. Maybe you sing along loudly to a song while driving. Maybe you make a playful comment to someone at a coffee shop. Maybe you do a small dance while waiting for the elevator. Maybe you say something lighthearted to a stranger just to see them smile. These tiny moments might feel awkward at first, but something interesting happens when you practice them regularly. You begin to realize that most people aren't judging you nearly as much as you imagined. In fact, many people appreciate the positive energy. And once that fear of judgment starts to fade, your natural personality begins to appear more easily. Your conversations feel lighter, your voice becomes more relaxed, your smile becomes genuine, and when you eventually talk to someone you find attractive, that same relaxed energy carries into the interaction. You stop searching for the perfect sentence. Instead, you speak naturally. You respond to the moment. You enjoy the conversation rather than trying to control it. And that shift changes everything, because attraction often grows in moments that feel spontaneous and real, not rehearsed, not scripted, just human. Men who truly understand this become surprisingly rare, not because confidence is impossible, but because most people are still chasing the idea that attraction comes from perfect words. The truth is much simpler. When you feel comfortable in your own presence, others begin to feel comfortable around you too. Your conversations become smoother, your humor becomes natural, your energy becomes inviting, and suddenly, the same simple words you've always known begin to carry a completely different impact, because now they're coming from a place of ease, from authenticity, from quiet confidence, and that is something no memorized line could ever replace. So the next time you find yourself wondering what to say, pause, take a breath, relax your shoulders, and remember something important. The most attractive thing you can bring into any conversation isn't a clever sentence. It's the calm, genuine energy of someone who is simply enjoying the moment.